Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Now I'm popping by just to do a project, one because I feel like it, and two because I'd like to use my washies again, just to show you how you can use them in different ways, because I do like to do that. But also this video is dedicated to my lovely friend on Facebook, Lucy Edmondson. And the reason it's dedicated to Lucy is that she loves these colours or these tones. So I'm using fuchsia, magenta and turquoise. So this is dedicated to Lucy. She's a lovely Facebook friend and very supportive, like a lot of you are. But I thought it'd be lovely just to dedicate this to her because she loves these colours. So let's see what we can do. I've done no prep, as in I haven't prepped a card design. All I've done is covered pieces in washi. That's it. I've done no card prep or anything. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my gel press, which is a 5 by 7 inch gel press, gel plate, whatever you call it. And as you can see, mine is super clean. What a joke. So I'm just going to remove the plastic. It's got 2 layers of plastic underneath the gel press, so you can see it's got the 2 layers of plastic. Now you can take that plastic off if you wish, and you can place it on an acrylic block if that works better for you. So we'll just do that now after I've just done this. Now I'm working on a certain card size, so I'm working on 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches. And if you wish, you can place, let's get this, you can place that under your gel press, like so. And then you can see, you can place your card exactly where you want it. So there's just a top tip for you, because then you can see where that lines up. I don't need to on this occasion. The reason I tend to do that is when I've got a smaller piece of card. Just grab an acrylic block. So I normally do that when I've got a smaller piece of card and I'm trying to judge where I want to place the card down. So I often use that. Now I've got a heart shape on my gel press, which I could clean the gel press by just mopping up that print. But at the moment, I just want to get on to just creating. So I'm just going to remove that heart just so that doesn't appear on my gel press. Now you can sort of rejuvenate your gel press if you find that it's not working in certain ways. You can rejuvenate it by adding a little touch of baby oil. Let me just, by using a little touch of baby oil. Now to just remove that moisture just from my gel press, I'm just going to use a little bit of copy paper. To be honest, I very rarely clean my gel press like that. I've just done it because there's a heart shape on there. Right, let's put this piece of white copy underneath that glass acrylic block, just so that you can see what I'm doing. Now, no prep, no nothing has been done with this. So I'm just going to go with the flow for me personally. So let's just grab that, and I'm going to use the colours that Lucy really loves. So I'm going to start off with magenta, and I know a lot of people tend to put the acrylic paint on here, which you can put the acrylic paint on here straight onto your gel press, especially if your paint works. Of course, Tracy picks the one paint that doesn't work. Hang on. Shall we try again? Right. I think that's a nice colour as well. Oh, I've now found another colour to go on. So I'm using the tones that Lucy likes. Now, a lot of demonstrators will add the paint direct to the gel press and then brayer that paint over the gel press. It's entirely up to you how you do it. I sometimes put the paint on my non-stick craft sheet and then brayer it onto here. What I'm going to do, what you need to do when you're using your gel press is have lots of card available. Always have lots of card available, because you always need to brayer off the excess paint onto a piece of card. Well, you don't have to, but it makes another background. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to add the fuchsia. Now, I like the Dina Wakley paints because they've got those fine little nibs that it just allows you to pull out a small amount of paint. So I've then added that. But look how much paint that you have. Look how much that paint you have. What I'd say with the gel press is don't panic. It's meant to be slightly unpredictable. So don't stress about it. If it dries, just let it dry. What I tend to do is, when I've added paints like this, I'll add my paint onto the non-stick craft sheet here, because I find if I go and put blobs on here, then all as that does is takes off the paint that's there that you've added before. So I'm just going to add, and I've put it right close to my spit it out, Tracy, my acrylic block, the paint. So if I don't want colours to mix, I'm just going to wipe those colours up. And I've got this piece of card again, and I'm just going to brayer off all the excess paint. Now continue to brayer so that you remove that paint, but you'll also add texture to this card. What I'm going to do then, now even before Lucy mentioned that these, you know, she loves these colours, I've always loved the fuchsia colour with touches of Come on, Tracy, come on, speak. I've always loved touches of turquoise with the fuchsia. So I'm going to add touches of the turquoise, and I'm going to add that to my non-stick craft sheet, because what I don't want to do is put blobs. Do you know, I think I've had a drink or something. I've only drank tea. So I don't like to add this is just me personally, touches of the turquoise then, because then sometimes it removes the paint that's underneath. So I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to add touches of the turquoise, and I'm using a very light touch. I'm not sort of pressing very hard, and the paint is going to dry on that gel press, which is what I want it to do. And I don't rush. I just take my time. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to place my stencil. Which way? So if I do it that way, then when I turn it around, yeah. So I'm going to place it here, like so. Okay, so we'll just place that down, and then I'm going to grab another piece of the 4.5 by 6.5 inch piece of card, and I'm just going to rub over and just pick up some of that heart detail, just to remove some of the paint from the hearts. Now you'll often see a lot of the professionals will go in and remove the paint with a piece of copier paper, because copier paper is thinner, so it removes the paint. But what I like to do is I like to try it with my card first, just to see if I can create another background. But what you can see is, you can see that my paint is very dry. So let's grab a piece of copier paper. And what I would say is, don't panic when using your gel press. Just don't panic. So I'm just going to see just how you can see it's completely dry. So you can just test that. So I've placed this on here, and the reason for using the copier paper, the paint's dry, so I'm not going to remove anything, is just to press that stencil onto the gel press. So let's lift this up. So then we'll have those hearts on there. You've also got some paint on there, but I will see if that will rub off, but I doubt it, it's pretty dry. and I've not used much paint at all. So you don't have to stress when it's dry, because you can lift that print no problem at all. Now let's say we've used which lid is that one? Let's make sure we put the right lids on them. I've got the window open, so I'm having to put the lids on because I don't want it to dry. I've got a touch of heather paint here, just a little touch, and you can see I'm only using tiny bits of paint. And what I'm going to do is just add a little touch of the heather paint, just sort of here and there. Yes, and I'm going slightly over the hearts. So let's pick up what paint we've got left and add it to this bit of card. Now I can just let that do its thing and dry. And you can see I've got this piece of card here. So whilst I've got this card here on the side, I can create another background, because then if you're not happy with your gel press background, what does it matter? You've got this other background on the side. It doesn't matter. Don't stress about it. So I'm then going to add a little bit of turquoise just to this background here. And you can see all that I've done is sprayed dry paint on this background. So just the dry paint. And whilst the paint is drying, I can then continue to add a few more layers just to this. The Dina Wakley paint stays open a little bit longer. The fresco finish paints dry very quickly on the gel press. So I'm using a little bit of the heather paint just to add that. And then, where's my kitchen roll? I've had a little bit of a tidy up and a reorganisation in my room, mainly because what I find is when I demonstrate, if there's a lot of things around my desk, you get very flustered. So I've decided I've cleared my desk quite a bit so that I can put things away quite easily on the wall or anything in containers. I've just ordered some more containers, just so that I can move things away from the desk and have more space to demonstrate. So I'm just going to add a little bit more of the turquoise. And these wipes I'm using have got no plastic in. So I'm using fuchsia paint. So I'm using the fuchsia paint again, and I'm just ignoring the gel press. I'm just ignoring the gel press. I don't know why I've got the acrylic block so close to my paint. I have no idea. I think it's because I'm in the habit of making sure that you can see everything. Now, you've created a background here just while your gel press dries. And what I like about this colour here, this fuchsia, if you add a little bit of turquoise over the top of the fuchsia, let's pick up a little bit of that, and you add it over the top of the fuchsia, it always looks really lovely over the top of the fuchsia. So I love that. I've always loved fuchsia and the turquoise colour. Right. So what I've got now is I've got this print on here and it's dry. If you want to test if it's dry, just press a piece of your card on and see if you lift any of that paint, because this can just be a mop-up background. Right. That's fine. So what I'm going to do then is I tend to use a paler colour than what I've used on here. So if I hadn't have used the heather in the background, you could pick it up with the heather, but I'm going to pick it up with snowflake white. Now, I don't pour the snowflake white on here. This is a fresco finish paint. What I do is I put the fresco finish paint on here and I brayer out plenty. And what I do is I prime my brayer with the paint. Okay, so let's get another piece. Let's get this brayer off piece of card here. So I prime my brayer, and what I do is I just layer the paint once, and then I take off the excess straight away, and then I just brayer and take off quite a bit of the paint. I'm then going to take my card, place that on there, and a lot of people will use a piece of copier paper over the top of the card. I don't want to do that because I can pick up the edges. So if I put a piece of copier paper on the top of this now, round here, and go straight over the top like this, the copier paper picks up this background here. Oh, what a waste. I need to put that on a piece of card. So I'm just pressing. Now, if you can't press, use your braille. Just use your braille. And guess what? If you don't like the background that you've created when you lift it up, you've got a bit of ink on here. What does it matter? And you can tell if you've got a print because look, it's got some give. It's got resistance. It's not just peeling away. It's got resistance. That way, you know. Look, it's got the resistance. You know that you've got a good print. So what I've got now is a beautiful print. You see, it's something we can work with. So we'll use that. But what I like is I've not used, let's just put that card out the way. Look at these backgrounds I've got. That one was the white paint. I've just taken off the excess. Look, there's a little heart there. And this is the one. So what I'm going to do is pick up the extra white here and I'm just going to braille that onto this piece of card. So I'm just braying this extra white paint and look, I've braided that onto that piece. So I've now got two wonderful backgrounds I can use with my washi. Absolutely brilliant, or my flowers. So the one thing I would say is always have plenty of cardstock, because if you haven't got plenty of cardstock ready and available for when you do your gel print, what you do is you panic because you think you can't take the gel print quick enough. Don't worry, you don't have to always take a wet print as soon as you've put the paint on there. Let it dry and do a lift, and then it makes it far easier for you. So what I've got now is I've got this piece of card that's got that bit of heart on there, and I've braided the white. This is just braying off the excess. Well, that's got enough detail on there for me. So we've got some colour here. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit more white now. Let's mop up that moisture. Take that white paint, and this is why I don't use the copier paper. That's just, like everything, it's down to personal choice, nothing else. Doesn't mean one person's wrong, one person's right. It just comes down to personal choice and what works for you. So what I'm going to do is just press my card and see if I can lift. You see, look, you lift up like a worn wallpaper, look. Oh, just love it. Look at this. Oh, there's a heart there. Oh, you see? And more often than not, your second and third prints, picking up the leftovers that people clean up with their copier paper, are often the best prints. Just look at that. There's a little heart there. Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. Right, let's move this. And I've got all this I can mess with later. So let's now it's on my acrylic block, I can just move that out the way. So let's have a little bit of a cleaning up session. There we go. Let's just clean it up. Look at these backgrounds that you've got. I'll adore that one. But I'm going to save those for another card that I'll create and put on Facebook. But I'm going to use this one because this is the print we took. So why not use it? So what I'm going to do, what I always find is, look at your print. So I'm looking at this print and it almost looks like there's cracked paint in there, which is lovely. And I like that more toned down of the white. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of white paint. Now, if you're not happy with the print, say you've done a gel print, and I know what we're like, we're all self-critical, I'm with you on that one. Always use a bit of white paint, it'll tone it down for you and it'll make the project look completely different. So if there's a print you're not happy with, tone it down with some white paint. It looks completely different, and boy does it look lovely. Now that's my favourite print, just because I've added some white paint. Just adore it. Right. Now this is dedicated to Lucy, so let's grab out which stamp did she like using. Let's have a look. Let's pull this out. Now the lovely Rachel, was it Rebecca, not Rachel, Rebecca, pointed me in the direction of these white containers that I can put my stamps in. I put mine in wallets. Rebecca just put the stamps straight into here, but the containers I normally use were out of stock, so I decided to change over to these, and these fit in my cupboard a little bit better. Now Lucy loves using this Numerator stamp. So as it's dedicated to Lucy, let's use the Numerator stamp. And I'm going to use this as is. So it's up to you how you use it. You can use paint on your stamp, but you just have to remember to clean your stamp. Now let's see if the white will show up if we add any of the white paint. Let's grab a piece of cut and dry foam. Now, preferably a piece of cut and dry foam that isn't like a concrete brick. Honestly. There we go. Now a lot of the professionals, I'm not a professional, I'm an amateur, even though I've been doing it for 27 years, but some will add the paint with the brayer. I tend to use a piece of cut and dry foam or an ink blending tool, because then it makes me feel like I'm using an ink pad. So with the brayer, I haven't got a real feel for how much paint I'm adding. When I use a piece of cut and dry foam and use it like an ink pad, I'm used to using an ink pad, so it means it's easier for me. The only thing I have to remember to do, lovely bit of squeaking there for you, what I have to remember to do is work that paint into my blending tools or my cut and dry foam, or a sponge, doesn't matter, use a makeup sponge, but I just work it in, and then I can just add the paint, and now I feel like I'm using an ink pad. And what that means is, it means that I don't add too much paint. And what you do is you add in layers. For me, I can see it slightly, but it's not showing up enough. So let's just add a little bit more paint. If not, we'll go to a slightly different colour. You see, I'm not panicking because that didn't work. This is how you experiment. You see, add a little bit more paint and see if it shows up because I've added a little bit more paint, and add it in a darker area. Don't give up on something that you really want to work. Give up when it really doesn't work. But there you go. Look at that in the background. All it meant is this is too much tone on tone. This is a little bit darker so the white shows up. Always remember afterwards just to clean your stamp. So this stamp set is a favourite of mine. I know Lucy likes it as well, but it's just a lovely stamp. Goodness knows where I've just put the stamp, the actual wrapping. So it's stamp set 400 and it's Numerator, and it is a lovely stamp. So let's use a different part of the stamp, and you can give the stamp a little bit of a wash. You know, give it a little rub with a little bit of fairy liquid just to remove your paint, or you can use your cloths, whichever you prefer. But you do need to make sure that that is cleaned. But what you need to remember is you're adding layers to your gel press. It's meant to be part of the fun, adding the layers to your project. It's not meant to be stressful. And I always think that if something is totally rubbish and you're not happy with it at all, cut it up, cut a shape out of it. You know, if you weren't happy with it, you could cut out a heart, cut out whatever you want. So it's absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of fuchsia. Let's see what the fuchsia likes. So all I'm doing is I'm experimenting. I'm going to use the other end of the cotton dry foam. So all I'm doing is experimenting. I'm just enjoying myself and experimenting with the process. And I can see my paint is almost dry, so and I'll tell you why also my paint is drying quicker. I've actually got the window open. It's quite warm out, so you need to remember these things. If like me, you've got the window open, it will affect the fact that things dry very quickly. And you just need to remember that. So I'm using the fuchsia paint. So it's going to be tone on tone. Can you see? Isn't that beautiful? So again, I'm going to do that again. And just add a little bit of stamping to the other corner. So because I can use it like an ink pad, I really get a feel for the pressure I'm applying. There we go. So you've just got some lovely layers in there. And I can just wash that out because the cut and dry foam I can use over and over again. And again, I don't have to worry about that drying, the cut and dry foam, because I can just wash that out. You know, if you don't want to spend time cleaning your stamps, you could just put it in some water. And then clean it afterwards. I just clean it whilst I'm here. Now, don't rub with your kitchen roll, just dab, because you don't want to add those fibres. So I'm just going to take off the excess. This is a very, very well used stamp. So I'm just removing the moisture from the stamp. There we go. But again, just a lovely background. Now, what I'm going to do is this looks beautiful, but what I want to do is add a little bit of texture. So again, I'm going to take my white paint, which Tracy's going to have problems getting out, and I'm just going to use a little. So I'm just going to braid that out, and I'm just going to lightly touch. I'm just going to lightly flick. And what that does is it sends the numbers into the background. Let's use all these to clean that up. There we go. And I've got no stamps pulled out because I tied it up, but you can see it just works quite nicely. And we can decide to add more to that background eventually. But you can see that is a lovely background. Now, the only prep I've done is I've taken this heart stencil and I've drawn around the hearts onto a piece of white card. And what I've done is I've covered those hearts in my new washi tape. And this one this time is around hash 44. And I've used this washi tape as sort of backgrounds on my hearts. But look, it's rather apt that you've got the XOXO. Hope. I love that simplicity. And it's just a background that you've created. And I'm going to add these hearts somehow sort of like this. Okay, they're going to be added somehow like that. We will see. But I want to add a little floral as well. So let's grab one of our flowers. So we've got a lovely flower here, and let's use this flower again that we used yesterday. You know, just because I used it yesterday doesn't mean we can't use it again. Let's see if this piece of card will be fine. So this is from my flower trio, and these new stamps now that were released earlier in the month on Create and Craft are now available from our lovely stockists. So if you go to the AALLandCreate website, you can find a list of stockists at the top of the page under stockists. And a few of the stockists have also posted in my group to let you know that they now have these in stock. So let's just use this. So we'll use this middle generic flower. There we go. I nearly asked you then where I'd put my acrylic blocks. So, and poor hubby's here because I've asked him to move my cupboard for me, because I'm doing some changes. He loves it when I have a few changes, don't you, Ian?
Love it, absolutely love it.
He loves removing nails and putting them back in and filling them back up again, and you know, he's got nothing better to do with his time. To say my name is mud is an understatement. And what's also good is I've ordered some like little more containers from IKEA, and he's got to put them on the wall when they come. He's really pleased. So I'm just going to add this to the white card, just to add that there. I like you to feel part of the family when I'm doing these videos, so that you're part of what goes on in our house. So we just add that there. So, and then just going to cut out the stem and the flower. But what I'm going to do is, before I colour, I'm going to blot that image. I always do. I always tend to blot the image before I add any colouring. And then what I've done is I've tested a few colours. Let's prove I've tested the few colours of my Inktense pencils. So I've tested these colours, and what I've got is Carmine Pink, Shiraz. Oh, that's a perfect one for Ian. Shiraz. That's 06. Is that 06? Do you know? Can I have the numbers a bit bigger? Good grief. Could you get the numbers any smaller, blending into the blue? That is Shiraz 0600. That was Carmine Pink 0520. And this is Crimson 0530. So I've picked those three colours to work with. And what I'm going to do is, let's just work out which is going to be the dark, light and medium. So that'll be the dark, that'll be the medium, and this will be the light. So I'm using my Carmine Pink first. And we have the water brush. You see, I've tested the colours, and you test the colours and then you dump your water brush down. There it is. So I'm going to start with the Carmine Pink, and I'm just going to add, in a circular motion, some of that colour. And you can see nothing overly professional. Tracy's just simply scribbling the colour on there. What I am aware of is that I am not pressing on too hard. I'm not layering down too much pigment too hard, so that I don't break down the fibres on the card too quickly and make it too shiny too quickly, because if you do that, you've got nowhere to go. And obviously these are reactive. The Inktense pencils are reactive with water and permanent when dry. You can also use these on fabric as well. So I've gone with the first colour. The second colour, it's like that one, wasn't it? Yeah. Do you like how I question myself? So I think I'll just add a bit more of that. And then we'll go into the second colour. Now, you're not going to see much variation in colour, because these are very sort of tonal. colours. And what I mean by that is they don't change much. So I'm just adding these tones of colours. And then I'm going to add a little touch of the darker colour just right in the centre. And I will add a little bit just around the edges. And I'm only scribbling that colour on because I'm going to take my time in just blending all the colours. So let's grab my water. And you can see I tested the colours. It's not any different colour that's on my brush. It's just testing the colours before I went live. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I've got my water and I'm going to go in to the colour. Going to go into that colour. Look at that pigment coming alive. And then I'm going to take off my excess and just go in exactly the same. And you can see, yeah, just soak your card. You can see I don't really do much initially. I just sort of go in to the colour. I don't drag the colour out. I sort of go into it. So we're just going into that colour. Just take the excess off when you first go in. The Inktense pencils are just forgiving, easy to use, just wonderful. And for me, that is just the flat colour, which you know I've said lots and lots of times. So what I'm going to do is pick a little bit of colour from the lightest colour, which is the carmine pink. And what I'm going to do is just build up the layer now. I'm not using a soaking wet brush. I just can't speak today. It's just not working. So don't expect anything sensible coming out. So I'm just building up. But say you know you're not into super vibrancy and you like your colours a little bit more subtle. Well, you could leave it quite subtle. You don't have to build up that colour if you don't wish. You don't have to add more pigment, but boy does that pigment, pow, it really sort of brings the life to the design. And it doesn't matter that I'm going outside the lines because I'm going to cut this out. I'm just going to cut the flower head out because I'm going to cut another one that I can cut the white. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go to the very darkest colour, which in this case for me was the Shiraz. What a fab name. Also, did you notice then I could flick the colour? Watch. You can get splatters, look. Can you see the splatters? And they're like, Tracy, bring it a bit closer. Can you see them splatters? Nice easy way for you to add splatters to your card. Right, we'll do that afterwards, but I just had to show you that because it's all exciting. So I'm just going to add a little bit. Whoa, is that colour super strong. Pow. And I've not dried it, so I can continue to blend that colour out. So forgiving Inktense pencils are. So easy to use. So forgiving. But what I would say is, don't expect miraculous results with one layer of colour. You need to work at it. And obviously when I'm adding water to this, you know, there's no point, which I'll do it anyway, to try and add white touches. I'm going to cut this flower head out and I'm going to go, that's why it didn't matter so much. Let's just look at those splatters, don't they look rather nice? Just let that rest a little bit and let's just stamp this whole flower again. put your flower on top of the ink pad, and then what happens is you can't find the ink pad. This is how you don't demonstrate, you see. You show the viewers how to lose your products. Let me just, can I just, yes. Try not to waste any piece of card. This is me. Sometimes people find it easy if they do it sideways as well. If you stamp your image sideways, hold your card sideways, and then they can lift the acrylic block just to get that leverage. Right. Let's now cut out the flower. Now, I often hear, you know, quite a few demonstrators like you to colour the underneath flower, this flower that's going underneath, to coordinate with the flower on the top. Yes, that works beautifully. Now, let me explain why sometimes I don't do that. Sometimes I leave my flower white underneath. It's a personal choice. I like to see the pop of white just shining underneath, just to bring a little bit more life to my design. Everybody is individual. You do what makes you happy. So if you're not happy having the white flower underneath, then you colour yours the pink. For me, if I colour it pink, which is great, like a lot of people say, you know, it looks professional because you've got the pink underneath. For me, when I look underneath, if I've got that pop of white, it's sort of, you can see it's got 2 layers. You can see it's got the dimension, but again, I do love adding white. And even if it's a subtle way of adding white by having a layer underneath a flower, then that's fine by me. Let's just add that. That's it. So let's straighten that out. This is just gorgeous. It's got to have touches of white, but let's leave that to rest a moment. What we can do now, whilst we're waiting for that to rest, we can play around with our composition. So I want the hearts to be visible, but I want the flower to be apart. That's it. Oh, don't start sticking to my tape now and making it difficult. So if I put them hearts there, and what you have to do as well, so that you know, you have to talk to your work, because then I feel slightly normal. So just add. Oh, I was gonna pick that up then. It's not going to work, Tracy. So, oh dear me, I'm dangerous today. So I'm just cutting this one out right to the edge. That's why when I was colouring, it didn't matter that I went over the edges. Let's cut down into the petal, just so that we can move that a little bit more. There we go. Have to say I'm feeling better moving some of my clutter from the desk and giving me a little bit more space to demonstrate. It's lovely. I've even moved my iPad, wow, just so that it's out of the way. Let's cut up to that one. I love these colours. There we go. Excuse me. And I'm going to just pinch my flower a little bit, just to give it a little bit more life. And then that, is that? Yeah. But I like to see the little bit of white underneath. I have to play around with compositions. I have to faff a little bit. It's just the way I'm made. And for me, it's part of the fun. Yeah, because I'm going to need a pink. Yeah, it's going there. Right. So what we're going to do, there's going to be a lot of dimension on this. So I'm just going to add my first heart with my washi tape. And just add that. I want it to have plenty of dimension. Let's add that there. So let's add some adhesive just to the stem. And then we'll take like so. And just add this here. Just stick that down. There we go. So that gives me some kind of placement. I'm just going to put the lids on my adhesive, mainly because of the window open. And I don't want to add them yet, because I'll tell you why. Right, let's just move this out of the way. We'll just add, let's see if we can add some white to the centre of this flower. And it's a miracle that I've remembered to add it before I actually stick the thing down, which is unlike me. As you know, I often stick it down and then worry about the white. And there, at the moment, I'm getting some white, but you need to be aware that it's really good if you can wait for that just to dry a little bit more, because you're working on a wet surface and this gel pen is screaming at me as if to say, what do you expect me to do? Yes, I talk to the gel pens, but look at the colour on that. So let's place that on one side. What I want to do then is grab my stencil. Let's grab some card. And let's just, what size do I want? That heart there, but let's do two because you never know. So let's grab the sponges we used before, and let's grab some of the, let's start with magenta. Take that magenta and let's just create a couple of hearts. And what's lovely is I've got that white paint on there, which just looks lovely. I'll end up creating another card later with these colours again. See, I can blame Lucy, see, because she loves I love these colours. I always have done. So take a little bit of the fuchsia and just dab a little bit of the fuchsia. I'm going over too many hearts really. It's just I can't decide which one I want to use. I'm then going to go back over with the magenta. So you can see I'm just layering those colours. And this isn't meant to be a project you do in 5 minutes. Right, let's now clean that up. It's a project you enjoy doing. And I'm hoping Lucy enjoys recreating. Right, let's... Lids, Tracy, lids. You know. Yes, you two can tidy it. Oh, I've got the lid on there. You drip. Right, now I'm going to use a little bit of the turquoise. I love the turquoise on the top of this. So what I tend to do with the turquoise up is I don't blend it in as much, and I can just add a little bit thicker blobs of the turquoise because it just looks lovely. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Love it, love it. And when I've cut them out, I can add more colour if I wish, or I can even brayer over with the white. So again, Lucy, there's another idea for you. You could just use the heart stencil and use those paints in that way as well. Just going over. Not that Lucy asked for any ideas, I just thought I would dedicate this one to Lucy. Right, can you see I've got nice bits of paint on my hand. So cut. So what I'm doing is by colouring these hearts, I'm bringing the background into the foreground. If I add some of these hearts with a H. I always say if, because you never know. It's where inspiration takes you. But you're incorporating your washi, you're incorporating your paints, you're incorporating your stamps. And the washi has given me a whole new lease of inspiration, if you like. It's inspired me in different ways, which is what I love. Do we want one of them little hearts? Never say never. Yes, let's cut it out. And this is where I usually flick it somewhere and then I can't find it. There we go. Let's move them all out the way. Right. Let's bring our card in. So I know that I can add this to here, like so. So let's add that to here. Shall we add some white cotton, again, to bring in some of that white element? Just to give that more life again. Just spread that out, just so it floats down your page. And then we can add that to our project. And it takes me ages. There's so many markers that you can use, but I love the little pop of white underneath to echo the white I've used in other areas and the white on the washi tape. Right, so I'm going to play around now. This is going to have some text on around with my composition. So what I'm going to do, I like that one there. Let's just wait a moment, because what I want to do is add some text. A7. I have to remind myself which stamps. A6, A7. So I'm going to use the Bulb Gazette, which is stamp set 907. Now you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say I'm stamping on there, so it's got that acrylic paint on there, so it's going to need blotting and drying. I just think a little bit of stamping on there will echo that of the washi tape. The fact the washi tape has got that bold black on there, and plus the fact that looks absolutely gorgeous. Let's add that. Absolutely wonderful that looks, even if I say so myself. Oh yes, little heart one is like, oh, it's even hit that one. Lovely jubbly. Right, let's just dry them straight away. So I'm just going to reach for my heat tool, and you know what's going to happen next, don't you? They're going to blow all over the place. So let's plug that in. The little one doesn't stand a chance in staying there. So let's just dry these. I can blot them afterwards, but we may as well give them a dry, because I know that ink is not dry on there because it's not an absorbent surface. So because we've got that acrylic paint, it just sits on the top. So we need to make sure that that's dry. And I can see when it's dry because it's not got a shine. It goes to matte. Told you they'd flirt everywhere. That's part of the fun, is chasing your artwork across the non-stick craft sheet. Yes, it is worth just doing that little one before anybody says anything. Right, let's bring these in. And let's just give them a blot. There we go. No, nothing on there. That is brilliant. It's just what we want. Let's move those out the way. And I think I am going to stick this one here. I'm going to stick that just on the side there. Just so it comes down a little. And then I'm going to faff around forever in a day. Because it's just what I want to do. Yeah, let's put that one on there. And I'm not edging these in black because if I edge them in black, they're just going to disappear into that black washi tape. And I don't want to do that. Can I actually get a little bit? I could have used a little cocktail stick for the little tiny heart. Ooh, don't you just love it when a plan comes together? Now I want it extended this way. Don't stick anything down until you're 100% sure. Do you know, I'm rather enjoying myself. I'm rather enjoying myself, and I'm just going to keep faffing for England because that's just me all over. Because it's what I enjoy doing. And my hearts are going to keep moving because obviously, you know, nothing's dried yet. And I'm forcing it to. There we go. Nice flow. There we go. We're going to add some text on there as well. What the word, you know. I'm loving these colours of the Inktense pencils. Right, so let's grab, which colour do we want now? Let's grab this dark one. Some water. And let's just add some splatters of that colour. Oh, and the splatters, they add some beautiful texture. So just add a little bit. Don't add too much water. You don't need much water anyway. Just with those splatters. Look at this rich pigment. Absolutely wonderful. Look at that rich pigment in there. Just delightful. Let's add, no, we won't add some white splatters at the moment with that still being wet. Let's grab, I've just wiped that all over my face. Such a professional. Right, then I'm going to use the same trio, flower trio, and I'm going to use the word elegance. I can get it off the acrylic block. Use that word elegance. There we go. Look at those splatters. I like that. I like them splatters. Let's see if we can put the word over a few of the splatters. Use the word elegance. And I want that to be on the white card because that will pop rather nicely. Where does the time go? I just lose myself. Let's cut that down. That's it. I'm going to tuck this just there, like so. And it's actually already got a few of the splatters on. Let's just add the adhesive just at this end here. I can't stop my hand from moving. There we go. Let me just hold that down. Just so that you can see. Oh, just love it. Right, let's add some splatters. You see, for me then, when I lift it up like that and I can see that pop of white underneath the flat, yeah, just looks lovely. Let's add some white splatters. Try and stay away from your elegance word if you can. If not, just cover it in a little bit of paper. Let's move all that, especially my Inktense pencil that's now covered in a white splatter. Hey ho, that's what a craft room's for. And then this bit of washi also works with it as well. So this is my Microscopic 43. Now in my previous sample I used the whole of the washi. I think that is that card up here. Let's have a look. So in the previous sample I used the whole of the washi. But here I'm just going to use a bit of it. So I might want that bit there with a bit of pinky plum on. Let's just leave that there. And then, I want you there. We've got this hair. So, and the hair will just sit here. Just add that, and just to balance that out, I don't want to hide all my numbers, just balance that out nicely. See, it works beautifully with those, just absolutely beautifully. I'm not going to waste that. Place that back on my washi. Just love that. Make sure that's straight, can't have it not straight. And then going, so this is 4.5 by 6.5, and then going to add this to a black mat that is 1/4 inch bigger. And it starts to pop when you add it to a card. Well, what you hope is, because nothing's dry, that it doesn't all fall off, is what you hope, especially when you're trying to adhere it when nothing's dry. Well, apart from the washi. There we go. Just add that to your black mat. And then I'm going to add that to a 5 by 7 card blank, because that'll bring in the white that's also added in the foreground. Let's just add that. Make sure it's not an upside down card. Add that here, like so. Move that a little bit, that's it. Move that up, and I'm now talking to the card. Let's just put the lid on the adhesive, and that is our card finished. So I hope you have enjoyed that, and I hope you like it, Lucy. It's dedicated just to you for those colours. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Love to all, and thank you all very much for your support. The washi tapes are on Create and Craft TV this evening, Monday the 29th at 6 p.m. with Abs. So Abs will be demonstrating the washis. Hopefully I've given you lots of ideas too. So Abs is on at 6 p.m. today and 9 p.m. today, and then he's back tomorrow 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.